Welcome to our deep dive into Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin and Joe Dominguez. You're looking to really level up your understanding of personal finance, and this book has quite the reputation for being a game changer.
Oh, absolutely. It helps people rethink their whole relationship with money.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, and it's not just some abstract theory.
Okay.
Joe Dominguez, one of the authors, was a Wall Street financial analyst.
Oh, wow.
He actually retired early at 31 by living these principles.
Okay, that definitely got my attention.
Yeah.
So before we get into the details and the book's 9 steps, what's the big picture of philosophy here?
One of the most fascinating things about this book is that it challenges the very foundation of our economic system.
Okay.
Dominguez saw the limitations of just relying solely on fiat currency,
Ah.
especially after the Nixon administration took the U.S. dollar off the gold standard in 1971.
So remind me, what does that gold standard thing mean in practical terms?
So before 1971, the value of the U.S. dollar was directly linked to a fixed amount of gold. You could literally exchange your paper money for gold. After 1971, our money became what's called fiat currency,
Okay.
meaning its value is based purely on faith in the government and the overall economic system.
Got it. And that's where the your money or your life philosophy comes in.
Exactly. Events like the 2008 financial crisis really highlighted the inherent risks of relying solely on a system that's essentially built on trust. The book argues that we need to broaden our perspective on what constitutes currency, thinking about things like skills, problem-solving abilities, and the strength of our community.
So it's like having a backup generator for your financial life.
Yeah.
If the main power grid goes down, like in a major economic downturn, you've got alternative sources of value to keep things running.
That's a great analogy. The book really encourages us to diversify our currency portfolio, so to speak.
Makes sense. But how do we actually start putting this into practice?
The book begins by challenging us to completely redefine our understanding of money.
Okay.
Instead of just seeing those dollar signs,
Right.
it encourages us to view money as life energy.
Life energy. Okay, I'm intrigued. That sounds way more philosophical than just balancing a checkbook.
It is. Think about it. Every time we earn $1, we're exchanging a portion of our time, our skills, our literal life energy for it.
Wow.
The book gives a powerful example of Jason and Nedra, a young couple drowning in debt.
Okay.
When they started viewing their spending through this life energy lens, it completely changed their perspective.
So they weren't just looking at credit card statements. They were thinking about how much of their lives they were trading away for each purchase.
Exactly. It's a powerful shift. Suddenly that impulse buy doesn't seem so appealing when you realize it cost you 2 hours of your life working to pay for it.
Whoa. That's
Yeah.
actually making me rethink my last online shopping spree. It wasn't just money I spent, it was chunks of my life.
And that's just the beginning. This concept of life energy has ripple effects on everything from our career choices to our relationship with material possessions.
Okay, let's dive into those ripple effects. What are some of the specific ways this life energy idea plays out in the book?
Well, it leads directly to one of the most famous concepts in Your Money or Your Life, the fulfillment curve.
Ooh, I love a good visual.
Yeah.
Tell me about this curve.
It's basically a graph that shows the relationship between money and happiness.
Yeah, okay.
At first, as we earn more money, our fulfillment increases. We can afford the basics, maybe some comforts. But there's a point on that curve where it plateaus and then even starts to decline.
Wait, so you're saying there's a point where more money actually leads to less happiness?
Yeah,
That seems counterintuitive to, well, everything we're told in our consumerist society.
right. But think about it. How many stories have we heard about lottery winners who end up miserable? Or celebrities with tons of money but troubled personal lives? The book argues that after a certain point, material possessions just don't lead to lasting satisfaction.
So you could have $1 million mansion and still feel empty inside.
It happens all the time. The book calls the peak of that curve the point of enough. It's where we have sufficient resources for a comfortable life and genuine contentment without going overboard and ending up on the downslope of that curve.
And that enough point is different for everyone, right?
Absolutely. It's about finding that sweet spot where your needs are met and you feel a sense of inner peace, not about keeping up with the Joneses or chasing some arbitrary number.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But how do we actually figure out where our personal enough point is?
That's where the 9 steps outlined in the book come into play.
Okay.
They provide a practical roadmap to achieving financial independence and, more importantly, to reaching that enough point where you're truly content with your life.
So it's not just about hoarding wealth, it's about aligning our financial lives with our values and finding a sense of purpose.
Exactly. And the first step is surprisingly simple, but incredibly powerful. It's about examining our current relationship with money.
Okay, so before we even start crunching numbers, we need to do some introspection.
It's crucial. The book encourages us to ask ourselves some hard questions. Do we view money as a source of security, power, stress, or maybe even something negative? Understanding our deep-seated beliefs about money can help us make more conscious choices moving forward.
It's like laying the groundwork for a healthy financial life,
Yeah,
making sure our foundation is strong before we start building anything on top of it.
precisely. Once we've done that inner work, we can move on to step 2.
Yeah.
Meticulously tracking every dollar that comes in and goes out.
The good old budgeting stage. I have to admit, spreadsheets aren't exactly my idea of a good time.
But think of it more as creating a detailed financial map of your life.
Okay.
You're not just crunching numbers, you're gaining valuable insights into your spending habits and discovering where your life energy is actually going.
Okay, that reframing helps. It's
Oh.
like a detective investigation into our own finances.
Yeah.
Where's the money going? Are we spending it on things that truly matter to us?
And that leads us to step 3, which introduces the concept of the 3 questions, a powerful tool for evaluating our spending and aligning it with our values.
Okay, you've got me hooked.
Yep.
Lay those questions on me.
The first question is, did I receive fulfillment, satisfaction, and value in proportion to the life energy money I spend? It's about honestly assessing whether our purchases truly bring us lasting joy and whether they're worth the hours we worked to afford them.
Wow, that's a powerful question to ask before whipping out the credit card.
Yeah.
It's not just about whether I can afford it, but whether it's truly worth a piece of my life.
Exactly. It's easy to get caught up in the moment and justify impulse purchases. But when we view our spending through this life energy lens, it helps us make more conscious choices.
Okay, I'm already feeling the impact of this just from our conversation. What's the second question?
The second question digs even deeper. Is this expenditure in alignment with my values and life purpose?
Right.
It's about getting clear on what truly matters to us,
Yeah.
what kind of life we want to create,
Right.
and then ensuring that our spending reflects those priorities.
So if someone values experiences over material possessions,
Mhm.
they might prioritize travel over buying a fancy car, even if they have the money for it.
Exactly. It's about making choices that resonate with who we are at our core, not just following societal pressures or trying to keep up with external expectations.
Okay, hit me with the third and final question.
The third question challenges us to imagine a world without financial constraints.
Okay.
How might this expenditure change if I didn't have to work for money? It helps us untangle our spending habits from the need to earn a living and see whether we're making choices out of genuine desire or some deeper unmet need.
It's like a thought experiment to reveal our true motivations. Would we still buy that expensive designer handbag if we weren't trying to impress our coworkers or project a certain image?
That's the heart of it, and regularly asking ourselves these 3 questions can be a real game changer in terms of making more mindful and fulfilling financial decisions.
Okay, I'm definitely going to be carrying these questions with me the next time I'm tempted to indulge in a little retail therapy. So we've tracked our expenses, wrestled with the 3 questions. What comes next in our your money or your life journey?
That brings us to the exciting part. Step 4, where we create what's called a wall chart.
A wall chart. It sounds like we're getting crafty.
Well, it can be a very visual and satisfying process. It's a large graph where you track your income and expenses over time.
Yeah.
You plot your monthly income as one line and your monthly expenses as another.
So we can actually see the relationship between how much we're earning and how much we're spending.
Right. And as you continue tracking and applying the 3 questions, you'll start to see patterns emerge.
It's like watching a movie of your financial life unfold month by month.
Exactly. And here's the cool thing. As you become more conscious of your spending habits and start making adjustments based on those 3 questions,
Yeah.
you'll actually see those lines on the graph begin to shift.
Wait, you mean we can actually witness our progress toward financial independence happening right before our eyes? That's pretty motivating.
It is. And as we continue through the remaining steps, you'll learn how to use the wall chart to project your future earnings and expenses, calculate your savings rate, and eventually pinpoint your crossover point.
Crossover point, that sounds like a major milestone.
It is. The crossover point is that incredible moment when your investment income surpasses your monthly expenses.
Okay.
It's when you achieve true financial independence.
Okay, that's the dream, right? To have enough passive income to cover all our costs and live a fulfilling life without being tied to a traditional job.
Absolutely. But it's important to remember that financial independence isn't just about having a ton of money.
Right.
It's about having enough to live a life aligned with your values and purpose.
Okay.
Which brings us back to that enough point on the fulfillment curve.
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork with the 3 questions and built our wall chart. What are some specific strategies the book suggests for actually reaching that crossover point?
That's where step 6 takes center stage. It's all about minimizing expenses.
Okay.
And it's packed with practical advice. But here's the key. It's not about deprivation. It's about making conscious choices that align with your values. For example, the book encourages us to embrace the idea of wear it out.
Wear it out.
Yeah.
Like literally wear our clothes until they fall apart.
Well, not necessarily to that extreme,
Okay.
but it's about appreciating what we have and using things to their full potential before replacing them.
So resisting that urge to constantly upgrade to the latest and greatest gadget or buy into every new fashion trend.
Exactly. It's about finding contentment in what we already own and recognizing that true satisfaction comes from experiences and relationships, not from accumulating more stuff.
Makes sense. I can already feel my wallet breathing a sigh of relief. What other gems does step 6 offer?
Another key concept is do it yourself instead of always outsourcing tasks.
Okay.
The book encourages us to reclaim some basic life skills,
Okay.
like cooking, fixing things around the house, or even doing our own taxes.
Okay, I'm all for being resourceful, but some things are better left to the professionals, right? I'm not about to rewire my entire house.
Of course, there are limits.
Okay.
But the book's point is that we've become overly reliant on consumerism,
Yeah.
outsourcing everything from basic repairs to entertainment.
So it's not just about saving money. It's about gaining a sense of self-sufficiency and maybe even rediscovering some hidden talents.
Exactly. And that sense of accomplishment can be far more valuable than just handing over your credit card every time something breaks.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal of embracing a little DIY. It's empowering. What about larger expenses like housing and transportation?
Yeah.
Those can really eat into a budget.
Absolutely. The book encourages us to get creative and challenge conventional thinking. Instead of automatically assuming you need to own a car, explore options like biking, walking public transportation, or even carpooling.
So it's about finding alternative solutions that fit our lifestyles and reduce our reliance on that single occupancy vehicle.
Right. And when it comes to housing, consider downsizing, sharing housing, or even exploring options like house swapping.
House swapping. Now that sounds like an adventure. I've heard of people doing that for vacations.
It can be an amazing way to travel affordably and experience new places. The book shares the story of Jane Z and her family who have been swapping their 2-bedroom condo in Virginia for homes all over the world since 2003.
Oh, wow.
They've been to Sweden, San Francisco, even Key Largo, all by swapping homes.
Okay, that's officially going on my travel bucket list. It sounds like a fun and budget-friendly way to see the world. What other creative money-saving ideas does the book offer?
Step 6 goes beyond just scrimping and saving. It's about finding pleasure in frugality
Okay.
and embracing a lifestyle that prioritizes experiences and meaningful connections over material possessions.
So it's not about living like a monk and denying ourselves all joy?
Not at all. It's about finding joy in simpler things like spending time in nature, connecting with loved ones, or pursuing hobbies that don't require a lot of money. The book emphasizes the Spanish word aprovechar, which means to use something wisely and get full value from life.
So it's about savoring those everyday moments, whether it's a delicious meal with friends, a walk in the park, or just a quiet evening at home with a good book.
Exactly. And by shifting our focus from acquiring more to appreciating what we have, we naturally reduce our expenses and free up more resources to pursue our passions.
Sounds like a win-win.
Yeah.
We get to live more fulfilling lives. A&D save money at the same time.
Now, before we move on, I want to share a real-life example that illustrates the power of Step 6. The book tells the story of Marcia M., a hotel maid who is determined to improve her financial situation.
She was ready to take control of her life energy. What does she do?
She started by meticulously tracking her expenses and then ruthlessly evaluating every job opportunity based on its real hourly wage, factoring in things like commute time and benefits. She was constantly looking for ways to increase her income without sacrificing her well-being.
So she was strategic and intentional about maximizing her earning potential. What happened next?
By carefully navigating the job market, she moved from temporary positions to a permanent role as an administrative assistant, which gave her a significant income boost.
Okay.
But her story doesn't end there.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat.
By consistently applying the principles in Your Money or Your Life and staying focused on her goals, she eventually landed a position as the executive director of a medical organization, earning a salary that would seem impossible just a few years earlier.
That's amazing. Her story is so inspiring. It proves that financial independence is achievable for anyone, regardless of their starting point. It's about mindset, making conscious choices, and taking those small steps consistently.
Absolutely. And that leads us to step 7, which is all about valuing your life energy and maximizing your income.
Yeah, before you jump
I
there.
know, I know. It's not about sacrificing our health or integrity to earn more. Exactly. It's about finding work that aligns with your values and allows you to earn a good living without burning yourself out. It's about finding that sweet spot where you're contributing your talents, feeling fulfilled, and being fairly compensated for your time and effort. We'll dive into all of that in part 2. So picking up where we left off, step 7 is all about maximizing your income. But as you pointed out, it's not about chasing every dollar at the expense of our well-being.
Right. I think a lot of people get caught in that trap, especially in today's hustle culture.
Yeah.
We can end up feeling burnt out and unfulfilled, even if we're making good money.
Absolutely. Your money or your life emphasizes finding work that aligns with your values and provides a sense of purpose, not just a paycheck.
Okay.
And it gives a great framework for evaluating job opportunities beyond just the salary.
So what factors should we be considering besides just the number on the paycheck?
Think about things like commute time, work environment, potential for growth, and learning the company's values, and even whether you'd actually enjoy the day-to-day tasks.
It's about looking at the whole picture, not just chasing the highest paying gig that might make us miserable.
Exactly. And it's also about recognizing that our time is incredibly valuable. We shouldn't be afraid to negotiate for fair compensation or seek out opportunities that allow us to earn more while maintaining a healthy work-life balance.
So it's about being strategic and advocating for ourselves. We need to remember that our life energy is a precious resource, and we deserve to be compensated accordingly.
Absolutely. And one of the most empowering concepts in step 7 is the idea of working for a finite period of time.
Okay, that sounds intriguing. Tell me more about this finite period of time concept.
It's a powerful mindset shift. Instead of working until traditional retirement age, we set a clear deadline for our financial freedom
Okay.
and work toward it with intention and focus.
It's like putting a finish line on our career marathon. Knowing there's an end in sight can be incredibly motivating.
Exactly. The book shares the inspiring story of Kevin and Catherine, a couple who applied this concept. Kevin, a lawyer, felt stuck in his job. But after years of meticulous tracking, he realized he could achieve financial independence in just 18 months.
Wait, he could be financially free in just 18 months.
Mm.
That's amazing. What happened?
His whole attitude shifted. He described feeling bulletproof at work, knowing his financial future was secure. He could negotiate tough settlements with confidence and approach his work with a renewed sense of purpose.
It's like a weight was lifted. He wasn't working out of necessity anymore,
Right.
but out of choice, which gave him a sense of freedom and control.
Exactly. And even if we're not aiming for early retirement, this finite period of time mindset can be transformative.
Yeah, a whole different way of thinking about work. Okay, so we've maximized our income, minimized our expenses, and we're working toward our crossover point. What happens when we finally reach that magical moment of financial independence?
That's where step 8 comes in, celebrating your financial independence and discovering your life purpose.
That sounds like the fun part. After all that hard work, it's time to pop the champagne, right?
Celebrating is definitely in order, but the book emphasizes that financial independence isn't the end goal. It's the beginning of a new chapter.
So it's not about retiring to a life of leisure and luxury, but using our newfound freedom to make a difference.
Precisely. The book encourages us to view financial independence as an opportunity to shift from a life of consumption to a life of service.
Okay, I love that distinction. It's about moving beyond just focusing on our own needs and wants and using our resources to contribute to something bigger than ourselves.
And that doesn't necessarily mean quitting your job and becoming a full-time volunteer.
Right.
It could involve pursuing work that's personally fulfilling, even if it's not highly paid, or finding ways to incorporate service into your existing career.
It's about aligning your actions with your values and finding ways to make a positive impact, big or small.
The book shares the story of Penny Y, who after achieving financial independence found her life filled with purpose and connection. She volunteered with organizations she cared about, engaged in her community, and even described feeling more present in her relationships, offering support to those around her.
It sounds like she wasn't just financially free. She was free to truly be herself and contribute her unique gifts to the world. It's beautiful. But even with all this freedom and purpose, we still need to manage our finances responsibly.
Well, absolutely. That brings us to the final step. Step 9, managing your finances for long-term security. Even though we're no longer working for money, we still need to manage our investments wisely.
Okay, so this is where we get into the nitty-gritty of investing. What strategies does the book recommend?
Well, it acknowledges that the financial landscape has changed quite a bit since it was first published.
Yeah, for sure.
When Joe Dominguez retired in 1969, he primarily invested in U.S. Treasury bonds for safety and stability.
But things are a bit more complex these days, right?
They are. Interest rates and inflation fluctuate, and we need to consider a wider range of investment options to ensure our portfolio keeps pace with the changing economic climate.
So we can't just stick all our money in bonds and call it a day.
Probably not. While bonds can still be a valuable part of a diversified portfolio, we need to explore other options that offer a balance of safety growth potential and inflation protection.
Okay, so what are some of those options?
The book highlights index funds as a great starting point. They provide a low-cost and diversified way to invest in the stock market without having to pick individual stocks.
So it's like buying a tiny slice of the entire market instead of trying to bet on the winning horse.
Exactly. And over the long term, index funds have historically performed well, offering a good balance of risk and reward. The book also discusses rental real estate as a potential income-generating investment.
So becoming a landlord, that's a bit more hands-on than index funds, right?
It is. While real estate can be more work, it also offers the potential for appreciation and tax benefits.
So there are trade-offs to consider. More potential reward, but also more responsibility.
Exactly. And the book emphasizes the importance of thorough research, understanding the local market, and choosing properties carefully before making any investments. Beyond index funds and real estate, the book mentions Treasury inflation-protected securities, or TIPS.
The TIPS, yes. Those sound interesting. What are they all about?
They're a type of bond issued by the U.S. government that's designed to protect against inflation. The principal value of TIPS adjusts based on the Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation.
So as inflation goes up, so does the value of my TIPS investment. That sounds like a pretty clever way to keep pace with rising costs.
It is. And while TIPS might not offer the same growth potential as stocks, they can provide a valuable layer of protection for your portfolio, especially as you get closer to retirement.
It's like having a built-in safety net for your investments.
Right. The book suggests that TIPS can be a good option for that portion of your portfolio that you want to keep relatively safe and stable, especially during times of economic uncertainty.
You know, this conversation is making me realize that investing is more nuanced than I thought. There's a lot to consider. Risk tolerance, asset allocation, inflation fees, and taxes.
It's definitely not a set-it-and-forget-it kind of thing. The book emphasizes the importance of ongoing learning and adaptation. What worked for Joe Dominguez in the 1960s might not be the best strategy today.
So we need to stay informed, do our research, and be willing to adjust our approach as the financial landscape changes.
Absolutely. And if you're not comfortable navigating the complexities of investing on your own, seeking guidance from a qualified financial advisor can be incredibly valuable.
It's like having a financial coach in your corner helping you make smart decisions.
Precisely. The book stresses finding an advisor who shares your values, understands your vision for your life, and acts as a fiduciary, meaning they're legally obligated to put your best interests first.
Okay, so finding an advisor who is both competent and aligned with our goals, that's reassuring.
It's about creating a true partnership in managing your finances.
You know, after diving into these steps and the financial aspects, I'm curious, beyond the numbers, what really stood out to you from your money or your life?
One of the most powerful aspects of this book is its emphasis on aligning our spending with our values. It's not about deprivation, it's about conscious consumption.
Right. Buying things that truly bring us joy and reflect what's important to us, not just buying into trends or trying to impress others.
Exactly. The book encourages us to regularly ask ourselves those three questions. Did I receive fulfillment, satisfaction, and value in proportion to the life energy and money I spent? Is this expenditure in alignment with my values and life purpose? And how might this expenditure change if I didn't have to work for money?
Those are such powerful questions, especially that last one. It really makes you think about your motivations for spending.
And by honestly answering them, we can begin to see where our spending might be out of alignment with our values and then make adjustments.
It's like holding a mirror up to our spending habits and seeing whether they truly reflect who we are and what we want our lives to be about.
Beautifully put. And the book suggests that as we become more mindful of our spending, we naturally need less to feel fulfilled.
That's an interesting concept. Could you elaborate on that a bit more?
Of course. It's about shifting our focus away from material possessions and finding joy in experiences, relationships, and personal growth. It's about recognizing that true wealth is not measured by the size of our bank account, but by the richness of our lives.
Yeah, that idea of finding fulfillment outside of material possessions really resonates with me. It ties into something else I wanted to explore, the role of sustainability in your money or your life.
It's a core theme that runs throughout the book. Remember, one of the foundational arguments is that our current economic model, with its emphasis on endless growth and consumption, is unsustainable.
Right, we talked about the ecological footprint exceeding the Earth's capacity back in 1985.
Mhm.
It's kind of terrifying when you think about it. We're literally living beyond our means as a planet.
It is a sobering reality, and that's why the book emphasizes mindful consumption and frugality. It's not just about saving money, it's about reducing our impact on the planet.
So it's about being aware of the resources we're using, making choices that minimize waste, and supporting companies that are committed to ethical and sustainable practices.
Exactly. It's recognizing that our individual choices have collective consequences. By making more sustainable decisions, we contribute to a healthier planet for everyone.
It's like we're voting with our dollars, supporting businesses that align with our values.
And beyond just our spending habits, the book encourages us to consider the environmental impact of our work and lifestyle choices.
Okay, so it's bigger than just buying eco-friendly products.
Right.
It's about reducing our carbon footprint, consuming water, choosing sustainable transportation options, and supporting local businesses whenever possible.
It's about adopting a holistic approach to sustainability, recognizing that our actions in all areas of our lives have an impact.
I'm starting to see how sustainability isn't just some separate, nice-to-have concept. It's deeply intertwined with the path towards financial independence.
It is. And what's interesting is that the book argues that by living more simply and mindfully, we not only reduce our expenses and environmental impact, but we also create a life that's more fulfilling and aligned with our values.
It's like this beautiful cycle where our personal well-being, our financial well-being, and the well-being of the planet are all connected.
Exactly. And it challenges the notion that abundance is about accumulating more and more stuff. True abundance comes from living in harmony with ourselves, our communities, and the natural world.
It's about recognizing the inherent value in experiences, relationships, and meaningful contributions.
And it's about using our resources wisely, whether those resources are money, time, or energy, to create a life that reflects our deepest values.
This deep dive has been so insightful. It's given me a whole new perspective on money, work, and even what it means to live a truly fulfilling life.
I'm so glad to hear that. It's amazing how relevant and impactful your money or your life remains, even decades after it was first published.
It truly feels timeless. The principles and practices it outlines are as important now as they ever were, maybe even more so given the state of the world.
Absolutely. It provides a powerful framework for navigating the complexities of modern life and creating a life of intention, purpose, and financial security.
I'm feeling so inspired to take a closer look at my own financial life and start incorporating some of these principles.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Remember, the journey towards financial independence is not a linear path. It's a process of exploration, growth, and continuous learning.
It's about experimenting, making adjustments, and celebrating the small victories along the way.
Exactly. And most importantly, it's about embracing the journey with a sense of curiosity, intention, and joy.
This book has given us so much to think about and so many practical tools to help us create more fulfilling and financially secure lives.
I agree. It's a true gift to anyone who's ready to take control of their finances, align their actions with their values, and create a life they truly love.
So well said. As we wrap up this deep dive into your money or your life, what's one final thought you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I encourage everyone to take one small step today, one tiny action to align their financial choices with their values and move towards financial independence, even if the full picture of their life purpose isn't clear yet. It could be tracking their spending for a week, researching a new skill, or having an open and honest conversation about money with someone they trust. The path to a fulfilling and abundant life begins with that first courageous